What's up, guys? So I'm roaming around the shop here, racking my brain because I'm like a week and a half away from heading down to Foxtoberfest. And for any of you tuning in for the first time, Chris, the Infamous Project, and I have teamed up. We've got this 1987 GT, which is what it was in OEM standard. However, it's been turned into this 1987 DECH Mustang, which, for lack of a better explanation, and please don't light me up over this, but just for the newbies, it's kind of the Canadian version of a Celine, if you will. Okay, I'll leave it at that. If you're interested in anything DECH related, check Chris's channel out. He's done all kinds of videos on it, and you can get some more info there. So next, it's going to be October 4th. We're leaving in this car. He's going to fly up from Austin, up to Spokane, Washington. I'm on the west coast of Canada. So I'm going to be driving down to Spokane, picking him up, and then we're going to carry on from there. We're going to head down through Yellowstone. We're going to talk a little bit more about the route here in the coming days, I guess. But for what all that's worth, this thing's going to be putting on like 3,800 miles by the time we get to Foxtoberfest. And if you're anything like me and you go to just do like a couple 100-mile drive in your car, you're probably going to check a few things, right, to make sure that you're going to get there safe and sound and in one piece. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just going through. I mean, you can see the battery tender behind me. I'm just trying to cross everything off my list that I can think of that very well may cause us grief inside of those 3,800 miles. So for some of you, this might be a bit of a like no-brainer or some repeat stuff, but for maybe some of the newer guys or gals to the channel, or just to Fox bodies in general, I'm going to run you through some of the checks you can make on these cars prior to taking them for a few 100-mile drive, or in our case, a 3,800-mile drive. All right, so let's start with the tires. Now keep in mind, these are in no particular order. I just had the car up in this height and the tires are pretty much right in my face, so I figured we'd start here. So first things first, guys, check the condition of your tire. If you see any sort of hairline cracks through the tread, the sidewall, or where the sidewall meets the tread, throw those tires out immediately. I'm going to share a picture with you on the screen right now of a tire that I had separate on me. The sidewall separated from the tread at highway speeds. I almost lost my car, and thank goodness I didn't lose my life. It was a really terrible situation. I was pushing my luck with dry rotted tires, and it almost wrecked my car and my life. So please, learn from my mistake. Do not horse around with dry rotted tires. If your tires are 5 years or older, keep an eye on them, okay? You could be in a situation that, well, might wreck your car or might not leave you here on earth. So don't horse around with that. Now, next thing, tire pressure. In this case, these BFGs max out at a tire pressure of 51 PSI. You don't want to run your tires at max PSI, but I would probably say somewhere between 35 to 40 PSI on a tire like this. So I'll just check these here quick. 37.5, I'm pretty happy with that. Go around, check all four, and make sure you got a tire pressure you're comfortable with. Now obviously, every tire is a little different and every setup's a little different. Some guys might run a little bit lower tire pressure in the rear for traction purposes. This is just generically speaking for a street related car or a road trip car, whatever. Probably going to run the same air pressure on all four corners. Okay guys, down a dirty one. Check the torque on your wheel nuts, okay? And actually, while I'm thinking of it, if you run a lock nut on any one of your wheels or any one of your studs, don't forget your lock. You'd be really pissed if you didn't have this in your glove box, right? If you had a flat tire on the side of the road. Now, torque spec on 79 through 93 wheels studs is 85 to 105 foot-pounds, okay? Don't horse around. Get yourself a torque wrench or borrow one from a friend. This is critical stuff, okay? Something you don't want to be messing around with. If you lose one of your nice, shiny wheels and or wreck your car, you're gonna be really pissed. Because if you over torque these studs, you can pull them right out of the axle, okay? Like, don't fart around with this. Make sure you torque things to spec. So right now I'm running at 95. I'm gonna do these two, okay? Look at that. That one wasn't tight. And they keep in mind, like, these will loosen up a little bit as you drive too. So don't panic if you got a couple loose ones, but just check them, okay? That one too. Jeez. I mean, the other side of this is maybe they were just done to 85 and I'm putting another 10 foot-pounds on them. But go around, check them a couple times. Next, I'm going to run you underneath the car. So some of this stuff is just fairly obvious. You want to do a quick, like, once over of everything, right? If you got a leaking shock, or maybe you got an axle seal that's gone, maybe you have if you're running the rear drums, maybe you got a brake cylinder, a wheel cylinder that's gone, maybe your diff's leaking, things of this nature, right? Check and make sure. Maybe your exhaust is shifted a little bit and it's getting tight to the frame rails. Check your pinion seal, okay? Just give it a good once over, right? U-joints, give your drive shaft a move, see if you got any excessive play in it. Like, I mean, really it's as crazy as you want to get with it, you know? Just go through your car and get a good understanding of what things look like under here. Because if something happens when you're driving down the road, you hear a noise or whatever, something occurs to you that you need to pull over and check it out, well, at least now you've got a baseline as to what everything looked like prior to the road trip beginning, okay? Check your clutch cable. Now this car doesn't have the dust cover on it, right? Usually there's a dust cover on the side of the bell housing here. But anyway, check your clutch cable, make sure it's in good shape, it's adjusted properly. Make sure you got some preload on that release bearing. You know, check your steering components. You should, I mean, I was gonna say, like, you know, check your ball joints and tie rod ends, but the reality of that is you're probably gonna know if you've got an issue in that area prior to doing the trip, right? Something would have presented itself or shown itself to you. You could go through and grease everything, right? This thing was greased not too long ago as per the previous owner. I think this is just kind of road junk, right? That's accumulated. Change your oil, right? If you're going on a long trip like we are, I've actually got to get a filter and change the oil on this. But just like I say, give it a good once over. Now, the next thing I would say is fluids, okay? I'm going to come underneath here and I'm going to check the diff fluid. Now, it's kind of hard to show you this here, but to check your diff fluid on this is the driver's side, okay, of the diff on the front side of the pumpkin. There's a fill plug on top here. Spin that plug out. You just take like a 3/8 ratchet and an extension, back the plug out, and yeah, I wish I could get up in there, guys. I can't really show you, but anyway, I think most of you know what I'm talking about. Back that plug out, get your finger in there and make sure that it's just kind of topped off. Same thing with your transmission. Well, automatic, right? You'd have a dipstick up top in the engine bay, but on your T5, okay, so this one here, same style plug that's on the rear diff. That's your drain plug. Don't drop that one or you'll drop all your fluid. It's hard to show you, but anyway, up in here is another plug that you can spin off, and same thing, okay? Like, it's just topped up to that level. Like, that's how you know these things are full, is essentially you fill them until they back feed out the plug. Get your finger in there and make sure you can feel fluid. If not, top it up. Engine oil, maybe check your coolant. You could check the condition of it too, right? Especially if you're going into a really warm climate, or well, it's more so from the colder perspective, I would say. You don't want to freeze your radiator over, but that's not really necessary here in these cars. These cars, I think these days, don't really get driven in colder climates. So check the condition of your rad fluid, and if necessary, drain it and top it back up with some good stuff. And finally, working your way underneath the hood. As you can see here, I got my battery charger on the battery. If you park your car for long periods of time without a battery tender on it, it's not a terrible idea to start the trip off with a charged battery. So put your charger on the night before or a couple days before and just make sure your battery's all topped up. If you haven't done a tune-up in your car in a long time, i.e. plugs, wires, cap, rotor, things of that nature, definitely a great time to do it prior to a road trip. But if you had just recently done one, just go through, check the condition of your plugs or your wires. Make sure that your wires are actually on the plugs and they haven't shaken loose. These are things that you would have noticed because the car would be running like garbage. But just go through, check that. Again, I mentioned earlier, making sure your header bolts are tight. Take the 10 minutes and just give them a little tweak with a wrench. Nothing worse than having an exhaust leak on a big long road trip and having to do this on the side of the highway, right? Check your air filter out. If you got an aftermarket one, clean it. Or if you're still running the stock air box, spend the 12 bucks, get a new air filter. Just good insurance, right? Check the quality of all your hoses. Check your coolant, right? Get in there. Make sure your overflow reservoir is topped up. Power steering, brake fluid, all the basics, right? If you expect to hit some rough weather, make sure you got some washer fluid. One quick last little item while I got you under the hood here, guys, is it wouldn't be a terrible idea either to just check your car for engine codes or your computer for codes. Now, typically codes will show up via your check engine light in the dash cluster, but sometimes there's codes that hang out in these computers that aren't triggered by that check engine light. So it just, again, another good little piece of insurance would be if you have one of these. If you don't, go on Amazon and buy one. I'll try and give you a link down in the video below where to find these. Like, they're just great to have. You can check your car for codes another way with a paper clip. That's maybe a whole nother video. And this actually is probably how to run one of these is a video within itself. But for what it's worth, I just want to kind of show you the condition of this car and its computer and codes. Well, actually, I don't know what it is. We're going to check it right now. So I'm going to jump in the car. We're going to turn the key on just to essentially the run position. You don't start your car. And we're going to kick my OBD1 tester on and hit test. You can hear some clicking going on. That's essentially this tester engaging the computer and running through the checks. And now what you want to watch for here, okay, so we're getting an 11. Now cars up to 91 deal with a 2-digit code system. Cars beyond 91 and up to 95, I think it is, use a 3-digit code system. So the code you're seeing right now, not right now, but previously, that 11, that's a good thing. That means we have no key on, engine off codes. That 10 is a separation code. It's not a code the car possesses. There's two kinds of codes your computer can have in it: key on, engine off codes and continuous memory codes. The 10 essentially separates the two. So you could have like a 69 and a 96, and then you get the 10, which means you have a 69 and a 96 in a key on, engine off code. The 10 means, like, we're gonna now go to the continuous memory codes. That's your separation code. And the codes you get beyond the 10 are your continuous memory codes. In this case, we have an 11 separated by a 10, followed by an 11, meaning that this car is 100% clear of codes. Now, I'm sorry, that's probably a little technical. Like I say, if you want to hear more on this, comment down below. I'll try to put together a full video on the OBD1 code testing equipment. But for what it's worth, I just wanted to show you, like, it's not a bad idea to run this quick little test. It took me, whatever, 2-3 minutes. And now I know that we're starting this trip off with no codes in the car. All right, and finally, a little sit-down chat surrounding spare parts and tools. first and foremost, you should probably have yourself a bit of a spare tire, okay? In our case, we've got the OEM donut, and this car is still in 4-bolt format, so the OEM donut will get us out of a bind. Now, some of you may be thinking, well, I've got AAA or I've got Haggerty car insurance and they'll flat deck me to the nearest shop and I can get my problems dealt with there. Okay, you'd be correct there. However, if you're in an area that doesn't have cell phone service, I hate to tell you, but AAA ain't gonna be coming because you can't call them. So keep that in the back of your head, right? Chris and I are gonna be going through Yellowstone National Park, and I got a funny feeling that there's not gonna be a whole lot of cell phone service in there, so we need to think ahead, and that's where the spare tire is coming from. So spare tire, jack, wheel wrench. In our case, we got centerline wheels, so we're gonna need an Allen key to get that cover off the wheel just so we can get at the wheel nuts if we happen to get a flat tire. Now beyond that, tools, you know, a Phillips, a flat blade, a decent socket set, some pliers, maybe some vice grips. Chris and I just talked about this on the pod. Like, we kind of joked around about how your standard, like, all-in-one home toolkit can pretty much strip a Foxbody, right? Aside from like doing motor mounts or something to that effect. But you can get a lot of these cars fixed or stripped down with bare minimum tools. They're pretty simple in that regard, and it plays into our favor. So pack yourself a little toolkit. You know, again, I know you want to pack light, but just pack the bare essentials at least. Like I say, the screwdrivers, the wrenches, the sockets, the whatever. Now beyond that, spare parts, you know, TFI module, maybe you want to go real crazy and pack a whole new distributor. Dare I say water pump? I don't know, right? Maybe a couple chunks of hose, maybe your heater core, right? Which we all know, the dreaded heater core of these Foxbodies. Maybe your heater core lets go on the drive and you got coolant leaking all over your passenger floor. Maybe you just need a couple chunks of hose to get you out of a bind and get that coolant off your floor. Because, I mean, well, you could run out of coolant, right? So some other things to consider. Now, again, I'm fully aware of the fact that all of this might sound crazy to some, but if you're doing a long road trip, you almost can't be too careful. Now, as far as things to watch out for, Chris and I are going to be trying to promote, if you will, a bit of a hashtag. We're going to call this trip the DECH 3000. So hashtag DECH 3000. So my ask to you would be, if you could help us try to get the word out as to what it is we're doing. We think that this is pretty neat for the Foxbody community, right? Taking one of these old cars 3,800 miles. So yeah, if you could share that for us, it would be greatly appreciated. Share it on your social media platforms and help us try and promote it. Like I say, we think it's going to be pretty fun. So we also, we're releasing a bit of a route. I don't think we're going to run into too many Foxbody folks through, say, Yellowstone National Park, but on like the eve of day 2 of our drive, we're starting this drive on October 4th. And so on October 6th, I think it'll be, barring no disasters, we're going to be in Denver, Colorado, the Mile High City. So if there's any Foxbody fans out there that watch this and you want to catch up in a parking lot or put together a little bit of a cars and coffee or just go for a pint at a local pub, we're into that. So let us know. Beyond that, we're going to be in Austin and then obviously Foxtoberfest. So you will see this car plastered all over our social medias in very short order. We're going to have hashtag stickers on it. I mean, we're going to treat this like a bit of a gumball. So watch out for that. And stay tuned to both of our YouTube channels because we're going to be going live throughout the drive. So we're going to take you guys along for the ride with us. We're going to probably set up both our GoPros in either corner of the windshield and we'll kind of tell you what we're going through. And then we're going to do a bit of a recap once we hit Texas, probably do a podcast there. So anyway, I guess the point being, just stay tuned to all of our social media channels if you're interested in following along on our journey. So thanks so much for tagging along, guys. I really, really appreciate it. Any questions or comments, they're always welcomed. I love talking to you guys. So thanks very much. And for those of you going to Foxtoberfest, I'll see you soon. Take care, guys. Bye for now.